let me extend my warmest gratitude and thank you so much for joining me this evening. You know, I wasn't going to stop until I talked to you, Sister Shaharazad Ali. So thank you for joining me. So I appreciate you so much. I can't tell you how influential you've been in my life and a lot of women. And I want to take the time out to honor you and thank you so much for all the work that you've done. And tonight is just, we're going to talk about the women and we're going to talk about Black women.
Well, that's what I've been talking about for over 30 years. So let's
Yes.
talk about it.
Well, let's talk about it. So, well, let's begin it right there. So, it has been over 30 years. We're getting close to 40 years. I know your first book came out around 1989. So, the issues that you saw back then and the issues that you see now, do you see a change in Black women?
Well, there are some changes, that's for sure. But change doesn't always mean better, it just means different.
Right.
And so things are different now. Say back in the 90s, as just
Mm-hmm.
as a starting point, uh, I think we were more joyful. We had more expectations. We hadn't been so disappointed as to get so cynical that we didn't trust anyone.
Mm-hmm.
I think the root of most of our issues is our distrust of our Black men.
So, you think we were more trusting then 30, 40 years ago than we are now?
Yes, absolutely.
What?
At that time,
Mhm.
the uh, uh, the white power structure had not destroyed the Black man's image like he has done over the past 30 years.
Mhm.
Okay, and so he still was very special in our eyes,
Mhm.
and we were special in his. uh, Girls went to school, they came out, they had picked ideas for careers. Uh, the boys had different ideas of work and jobs. They intended to go to work, many of them. And remember that in the 90s was at the peak of the crack epidemic.
Mhm.
And so we were losing each other in that. It was just terrible. And crack was the first drug that the enemy had come up with that separated the mother from the cub.
Mhm.
Okay. It made Black women who were strung out on the drugs, we functioned differently about our children. In fact, we didn't even acknowledge most of them.
Right.
And that's part of what we're dealing with now. Our grandchildren and great grandchildren are going to school and trying to mate with the great grandchildren of the crackheads of the 80s and 90s. So those
Hmm.
personalities are out there, and they're doing a lot of strange things. They have uncontrollable anger. They
Yeah.
have the bipolar issues. They have hostility, and they're murderers.
Yeah.
So all of this came through the seed of a lot of those drugs. As I said, I think we'll be dealing with that for generations. And it created the broken family syndrome
Mhm.
between Black men and Black women. You had some households with the grandparents, the parents, and the children all on drugs, all on crack.
Yeah.
So no good could come out of that. And the people who put it in our communities knew that. They
Mhm.
offered it to our men as an opportunity for a job to work
Yeah.
until they became addicted to the money and addicted to the filth that goes along with drugs and alcohol and prostitution.
Yes,
All of
ma'am.
those things invaded us, and it separated us as Black women from our men because it was real hard to try to love them then.
When they were on drugs. Now
Right.
I'm a 80s baby, and I unfortunately the crack epidemic affected me and my father, where he left when I was 2
Yes.
because of drugs.
Yes.
So I wasn't raised with my dad either. So I've always been a lot of our issues because we were fatherless and because of the epidemic. But then now I'm realizing, and you talked about feminism and how that did a toll on the Black community, in particular Black women. So, what would you think would be the main cause or one of the main issues? Would you think it would be, or would you say it was the crack epidemic, or is it more feminism? or they both played the vital part of the
I
breakdown
think
of our family.
all of those, and nature played a part, because whenever a female is forced to fend for herself, get her own food, root for her own protection, whatever it was, it makes us hostile toward the males in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And that hostility has played out in many of our lives. And it has made us sometimes just so upset, so frustrated, and so deeply hurt by whatever values we have made up. It's not saying they were the correct expectations, but we had them. And I think those are the kind of things that have helped to separate us. Also, remember, the 90s was the time when the school system took shop out of the public schools. So,
Right.
where our men were learning automobile repair, now you can't hardly find a young brother that can change a tire. They were learning that. They were learning air conditioning, carpentry, refrigeration, welding. Well, these
Yeah.
were jobs that they could look forward to doing even if they just got out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those jobs were taken away. And at the same time, the school system took away home economics for the girls.
You know, I was about to say that the cooking, the sewing, the
And
how to
how to
be a
clean,
what,
how to keep
how
house.
to clean,
You
how to
can't
keep
find a
house.
sister that can. In fact, sisters laugh and brag about the fact they can't cook. And
Mm-hmm.
food is what sustains life. And traditionally, the females of every household around the world have been in charge of nutrition.
Right.
Even if the man goes out and gets the food, he brings them back to us to prepare it. So that's a very powerful position, since food sustains life, and it also determines how long we're going to live, depending on what we eat. So
Yes,
that's a
ma'am.
very powerful position they put us in, and then taught us not to cook and don't want to cook, and made it excuse me, made
Mm-hmm.
it a hostile thing
Mm-hmm.
and one of labor instead of one of love. And
Right.
so, we had to deal with that. Uh,
Well,
all
let
that
me
used to happen
go
in
ahead.
the
Sorry.
during the time that we were also introduced to fake fingernails and wigs. Now, at that time, now we're talking about back in the 80s, the
Oh, and that
90s,
was hot in the 80s.
people,
People talk about wigs now. Oh no, you get the big bouffants.
listen,
Yeah.
people used to go to the bank and take out a loan to buy a wig, because at that time, wigs were only used for the sisters who had alopecia or who
Mm-hmm.
had short hair or balding or something. It wasn't just for a beauty thing, and they weren't tripping wearing it down to their
Mm-hmm.
ankles. All right. But at
Right.
that time, it brought in, and the Asians brought in the fake fingernails. We were having a lot of great black expos, which we no longer have, rarely. And at that time, it was black business people out. And one of the main attractions was the people who were there who knew how to put on the fake fingernails. Okay.
Okay.
So that became big then. And it has come to now where we're just all dealing with almost a self worship. And it has left from our hair to our eyelashes,
Okay.
to our lips, to our breasts, to our eyebrows. Everything has been altered some kind of a way that has affected our representation of us in the world. We have a lot to overcome because black women are the major players in porn all over the world. This is the image that a lot of foreign countries first get of us, is in a porn movie. It's an underground thing, but we
Mm-hmm.
have starred in more of them than anyone.
Yeah.
And we are proud of it. And Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion and Nicki Minaj, they're not helping our young girls.
No, ma'am.
And I'm not thinking about none of that nonsense about don't knock somebody's hustle. If the hustle is wrong, just like selling drugs, I'm going to speak on it.
And call it out. So this is what I'm learning too. And again, I thank you so much because you've made me realize a lot of things. And with the big word accountability, it seems to scare a lot of us. But with accountability, it's saying what is wrong and doing what is right and even calling it out. But when you do, and I know you've been dealing with this for decades, when you call out wrongdoings, then you are the one that's shamed, not the person that's
Well,
doing it now, but
you are
it's
going
you.
to the person who tries to point out the truth of anything is always going to be attacked, because we
Mm-hmm.
live in such a wicked world that's
Mm-hmm.
built on so much wickedness that you are the unique one, any woman that stands up for what's right and tries to establish herself as a dignified human being and
Yes.
recognize that you don't have to get in the gutter in order to have girlfriends or a man. It's not a requirement, but it is a direction sometimes we'll take because we like the attention. So it's very, very difficult for us. In the 90s, also, our babies had a value.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody in the community would help take care of the little children sometime. I don't mean that spanking them and everything, but I mean if they saw one going to go in the street or they would speak to them, they got to know them and things like that.
Right.
We have lived in our community for many decades about this thing about it takes a village to raise a child.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the second part of that statement is that the ruin of a nation begins in the home.
Mm.
And we don't deal with that part of it. We just
No,
deal
we
with that
don't.
it takes a village, trying to shift their responsibility to other people, including the school system, who has miseducated our children the same way they miseducated us. When we found out the truth, we haven't gone back and told our children because we are so busy sitting in the hairdresser for 5 or 6 hours. And it's very difficult. It has been for me, sister.
Yeah.
Very difficult for me to try to teach salvation to a group of Black women who hate the hair on top of their own head and who thinks that their beauty, their self-esteem is so low. We believe that our beauty requires us to glue somebody else's hair on our head or sew it on our head.
Mm-hmm.
And to pick up an image that has been represented to us as beautiful. And even though we don't ever like to admit it, the only image we've ever had of beauty was the white woman. And we want her hair. We want to look like her. We want the blue contacts. We want everything. We want the big breasts, the butt, whatever it is. We want that because we have such low self-esteem. And it's even worse for our little daughters and granddaughters because we're giving them that same false value that the only way that a Black woman can be beautiful is if she takes things from other people. And we're the most beautiful woman on the earth ever that God created. So the fact that they've convinced us that we need to spend millions and billions of dollars every year to get somebody else's hair to stick on our head in order to be beautiful. You can go to any big meeting, any kind of organizational meeting, and 90% of the women in there got on somebody else's hair on their head.
Right.
And how can you reach people who hate themselves that much and their little children, 4 and 5 and 6 years old, they're putting fake hair in their head, teaching them that the only way they can be beautiful is if they have some other accoutrement from somebody else.
How did we get here?
It's just so painful to see that because for generations, we're going to be dealing with that.
Yeah. Well, how did we get here? How did we get to, and you said something that I thought was very, very powerful is because I never thought of it that way. It's this self-worship. It's the I'm doing things, the extremities of it all, the hair, the eyelashes, these crazy nails. It's all attention based, and it's attention because I want focal point on me. I'm butt naked on Instagram because I want it on me. It's a self-worship.
Yes.
But we're wanting self-worship, but then are the most insecure. We don't think we're beautiful and we're changing ourselves. How is that even possible that I want to be worshiped, but I want to be worshiped by looking like someone completely different? How does that work?
Because those are the things that we have been taught generationally. We just never had anything physical to make it into. And when the hair came along and the eyelashes and the sisters who have terrorized their own body to try to have the biggest buttock in the world. I mean, we have just been so outlandish, and no other people are doing, no other women, any color, are doing that but us. And we don't want to accept that it's not just for convenience. I see the sisters out, they patting on their head. They shaking their head. They trying to do a lot of things. And I've seen them take that stuff out and they're all bald all the way across.
They got no edge.
Because the chemicals and everything. So, we're in a bad condition. And then we walk around constantly saying, I want to be accepted for who I am. Well, who are we?
Who are you?
And that becomes the question. And we don't want to accept no man any way he is. We immediately start trying to change him. But we want to be accepted in whatever nonsense we have going at the moment. We want to be accepted in that. We developed the distrust of Black men, as I said, in the 90s. That started happening because when every value has been taken from a people. Once again, it comes back on self. And
Yes.
so if we're not doing the things that women are traditionally known for doing, if we are not behaving in that way, and if we're not treating men in that way, and if we have pushed so much sex in front of him every day, all day, we think that's
Hmm.
the only thing we have to offer, most of us. We think if we don't have that, when actually men will go along with whatever we present. And so since we have pushed so much sex in front of them, now we mad at them because they keep going for sex.
Right.
And that's what we have taught. That's what we have stood for, and that's how we dress. Our
Hmm.
men don't have the discipline because of what has happened to them, and both of us, and our ancestral slave history. Our men don't have the discipline to withstand the onslaught of lust and
Hmm.
sex that we throw on them. And it also makes them deal with younger girls because of the older and more mature women have shown themselves so much that they're just so used to it, they're not interested in that anymore.
Their bodies ain't the same like it used to be.
None of that is going to happen.
Yeah.
And so,
Mhm.
we have developed the envy and jealousy for each other as Black women,
Yeah.
and sometimes between mother and daughter. That's
Hmm.
how serious this has become to get the attention of a man.
Hmm.
Now, what do we want to do with the man when we get his attention?
That's
We
what I'm
don't
trying
want
to
him to get
ask.
married no more. That's not that popular. Some of us do, but we're kind of against that now. We don't. A lot of Black women I have found don't even want to have children anymore.
I've
Our
heard that a
birth
lot.
rate is down. The Latinos, the Mexicans, the Puerto Ricans, everybody's out birthing us
Hmm.
because we have been using abortion as birth control,
Hmm.
and we have been using birth control, period. And we're not interested in having babies anymore.
Yeah.
It's mostly an accident now, and it's mostly younger women. But
Yeah.
it's become a difficult thing because after the baby gets about 3 and becomes a
Hmm.
person, that we can't just dress him up and make him cute and buy him toys, then we want out because that's the real work of mothering.
I got two questions for you. One, it's about abortion. I am pro-life. Do you think that the overturning of Roe versus Wade is something that is going to be beneficial to Black people in building our community, or do you think that that was something that maybe the white folks did because they are also declining in population?
Well, they really are, and they're declining not due to birth rate as much as immigration.
Integra-
Okay,
they
and
turn
so
they
we're
turning
looking at
brown. They turning brown.
yeah, everybody is getting mixed with different things now as a
Hmm.
result of that, and that's also affected us too
Yeah.
because many of us are marrying white men and white women. We've always tried to and wanted to
Hmm.
because we think that it will brace us up in society,
Hmm.
especially if we're in the entertainment industry or something. If 2 Black people walk in the ballroom, it's no big thing. It's just 2 Negroes. But if a Negro come in there with a white woman or a white man, you're gonna get more attention, and everybody that's in that knows that. It's
Hmm.
a form of exhibitionism. Yeah,
Hmm.
but that's the way we have developed that. But we have been robbed of the ability to plan sanely for our future, and we have been so inundated with sex and sexual ideas and pictures and innuendo, even down to our children's cartoons, which you have to watch the books, the cartoons, and everything. But we've had that so much of that thrown on us that now, as Black women, now this is really deep, we tend to think that good sex means love, and it doesn't.
We do
It's
think
just
that.
another bodily function. It
Right.
doesn't mean love. It just means what it says.
Hmm.
We have taken so many things out of context. It was designed to be attractive and attracting to us for the propagation of our people, of all the people on the earth. Everybody who was born has to come through us.
Yeah.
Everybody who was born. We have a lot of power because we can stop them and don't let them be born, or we can have them. We can have one, two, none, whatever. So
Right.
we're in a very powerful position in regard to the survival of our kind. In every nationality, there's a male and female who look alike, who were
Mhm.
designed for each other.
Yeah. Do you think
And
Black women know how powerful we are?
no, no, we think we have some kind of master strength because
Hmm.
we're able, it looks like sometimes that we're able to do better than our men. But that's because the entire society is built on supporting women, and certainly not the black man. You know, if we are poor, have a baby, or don't have one, whatever, you know, we can get housing, child care, college money, Medicaid, whatever it is that we need, an apartment. Well, they don't have all of those aspects of support. And so to us, we bought that thing about the black woman is the strong one. No, instead of getting married to him, we got married to the government because they were taking care of us like our man should have been able to do.
Yeah.
Okay. And then they taught we probably have the only man who really not interested in getting married because they taught us to use marriage and child support as a weapon against our men, and they don't want to do it. I wouldn't
Hmm.
want to do that.
How do we get it back? So I'm a proponent of the nuclear family. I'm a proponent of marriage.
Yes.
Um, and my goal is to try to find a resolve. Now, from when you started to now, I unfortunately I see a change, but like you said, change doesn't mean it's good. It's just something different.
Mm-hmm.
And but I'm seeing it. I hate to say it, but we're getting worse.
Yeah.
And now it's to the fact that black men don't trust us. They're going overseas. They said they're done with the black woman. Black women are now thinking they can get a white man, and they're done with the community as a whole.
Yeah.
So for one that loves us, loves being black, want us to do great, has a daughter, want her to be with a black man, I want to marry a black man, but the distrust amongst each other.
Yeah. Well,
What how do
we
we
didn't uh we didn't get in this situation in 30 years,
no.
and we're not going to get out of it in 30. It took us over 400, 555 years exactly. It might
Mhm.
take us that long to get back on the other side.
Yeah.
But we can start as black women by setting the example, by teaching our children to be themselves and not submit to other people's ideas and fashions. You can't wait until your daughter gets 14 to say, don't wear booty shorts.
Mhm.
You got to start teaching modesty when that child is little, and respect to the boy
Yeah.
when he's little. You know, we talk all the time. I hear the sisters tell me, I'm his mother and his father. No,
No,
we're
you're
not.
not.
You're not the mother and the father. You know, we listen. We
Okay.
cannot raise a boy in the proper way he should be raised. He'd be better sitting on the curb with a drunk than listening to that nonsense we talk at home about men. Okay, we teach them to hate the man they got to become. It's
Mm.
ridiculous. And so we, when we look at the condition of our girls, and they like us, we know we don't have no great superior wisdom about child rearing because of the condition that most of them are in.
Ooh.
And the men talk about it. They tell me about it.
Yeah.
What a lonely woman won't do, they'll, you know, we do anything. We'll do anything anywhere. And that is so frustrating. Now, of course,
Well,
I'm not talking in absolutes. I'm not saying
yeah,
the
and
whole
I
50
know the
million of
people will
us.
say not all women we get. Yeah, I understand. So
Yeah.
I totally
Yeah.
understand that.
Well, no,
But
it's
some
not
people
all.
don't. Some people don't.
However, if we are
I'll
put into a
you know,
certain
I'll take care of
situation,
them.
we'll
Well, this
tend to act the same, you know.
so let
But
me well, this is the thing that I think it's just so odd that we do all this stuff for attention
yes,
and self worship and trying to get men and trying to, but then we'll go back and say we don't need them. But then go
yeah,
back and then put them on child support and need their money.
yeah.
Why are we so confused?
Well, it's
Do black women understand that we do need the black man?
Well, we need him not just to keep our nation going
Yeah.
because we bad, but we can't create no baby by ourselves. So we do need them for that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but we don't just need him for that. Not just to survive, we need him to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because that's a different thing
Yes, it
than
is.
just having somebody to impregnate us to keep the race going.
Right.
We need his arms around us. You remember they did a study about 50 years ago where they had some babies, and
Mm-hmm.
they took the babies and they didn't touch them. They
Mm-hmm.
just would change their diaper, prop their bottle. They didn't hug them, embrace them, soothe them, or anything. Well, the babies all grew up some kind of retardation. Well, that works the same with us. So it's not saying that we just need them, but it's certainly much better to have one of them, because to have a man's arms around you and to tell you it's going to be okay, and to love something on him more than his penis, because that's the only time we get along with him. Okay. After that, we back in hell.
Yeah.
Okay? And so we have to recognize that we have a greater value than that. And people recognize your value if you function like you have one. But if we function like we don't have any value for our environment and ourselves, then that's how we get treated.
Yeah.
Especially the predators that are out here today. You know, they have a sense for all of these different things. And we have young girls out here. We used to talk about how the little boys were mimicking the older men on the block, and the boys, teenagers on the block selling drugs. Well, what would our girls emulate from us? What would they mimic from us? Wearing fake hair,
right,
getting fingernails, getting your nose or something pierced, getting fake breasts, wearing the tightest clothes you can so you can get the touch, get the attention of a man, and dancing in the most vulgar way possible. Nobody but us could take something so beautiful and sway into music and turn it into something vulgar. You know, you got little girls in school who can't read, who can't tie their shoes, but they can do the TikTok dance. See? So we're off post. And I'm not saying that we don't have more Black women who are graduating out of college and getting PhDs. All of that's just designed to go beg the white people for a job. And these are the people that are repressing the man that we could have had.
Yeah.
And a lot of these brothers are functioning like females. They're arguing like women because that's all they've been around all their life.
Is when they mama. Okay. And acting like they mama.
And she's still mad because the father of that child, you know, they didn't get along. And we still think that if you have a baby by a man, it'll tie him to us. Nothing could be further from the truth. If he's too immature to handle that, it just runs him away. You're not going to hold him by getting pregnant and having a baby.
No, I heard that's the easiest way to lose them. Get pregnant, trying to keep them now.
We have so much of the jealousy going, but we don't have that much jealousy going, because that's why some brothers have 8 and 10, 15, 20 children, because each one of them sisters think that they're going to be different and be special, and so they get pregnant again.
Yeah.
You know, it's very frustrating. But my books are available on Amazon and eBay, and I really, really wish all Black women read The Black Man's Guide to Understand the Black Woman.
Absolutely, I have it.
That one first.
Well, I'm gonna put the links to your eBay and the link on this video, and I'm gonna post it on my Instagram so they can get it. I think it's an amazing. I mean, it's just a reference that breaks us down and tells us a little bit about ourselves, that not like we don't know, we just don't like to hear it.
We don't think anybody else knows. No, we don't think nobody else can see us.
Yeah.
We think because we have so many layers of fake personality and so forth in front of us, we think we're not seen. But we see each other. You know, we're able to do that. We have to get our confidence back. If we want a better man, we got to be a better woman.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. If you're around semi-quality men, it doesn't run them away because you have your clothes on and not showing your breasts.
It does not.
It really doesn't. And as I said, they have set up so many situations where we have lost trust from each other. Our men are overweight. We have women overweight. We have convinced them that being overweight look good. As I said, they'll go with whatever we present them with to be with us. Whatever we decide how it's going to be, they'll decide, I like that.
Yeah.
But we are leading them in the wrong direction, and our children. All of this is, as I said, because we want to have the attention and a few moments of pleasure. And you can't build a nation or a life out of just that. We have to have more values and standards. And a lot of times we don't want to change and do different things because we say, oh, that's old school. No, that's the school where things worked and where we had stable relationships. The children had their fathers.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one we want to bring back because those principles still work.
Yes.
There are universal principles that govern everything. And there are certain ones about interaction between a male and a female in a relationship that still work. We don't have to come up with a new idea. We haven't corrected or practiced the old idea.
Yeah.
So we have work to do. And that doesn't mean go down and be a doormat for some man who is not qualified to have a good woman. It doesn't mean that. We
Yeah.
have got to get this desperation under control.
Why do we hate the word submission?
Well, because to us that means that somebody gonna tell us what to do,
Mm-hmm.
even if we don't know what to do. We don't want nobody to tell us.
Do you see the contradictions that we keep living as black women? We want you, but we say we don't need you.
Right?
We need a leader, but we don't want you to tell us what to do, even though we don't know what to.
No.
It's just all contradictions that I'm
Well,
just seeing. And then when you say the truth, then you public enemy number one.
well, we are living at the end of this civilization, one way or the other, and
Mm,
so everything will be manifested. We're living in the time of the manifestation of the defect, and
yeah,
all of the issues that we have dealt with that have been wrong are going to be revealed. The people, the
yeah,
activities, whatever it is, because a lot of what, and I know a bunch of different women, of course, and men, coast to coast, and I hate to think that the majority of them are not happy,
no,
but you have to create some activity for yourself, get involved, do the work, and function, and hope for the best, because we don't have anything else other than that. And let me mention this one last thing, Courtney, because this
okay,
part is really important.
okay,
Um, we're gonna have to get over this thing about not wanting our man to have no other woman.
now look. Now
Yeah,
you said this is what you said. What makes a good black woman? You said it was 7 attributes. Okay. You said a black woman that is disciplined. You said a black woman that's intelligent, a black woman that's cheerful. You said a black woman that has self-respect. You said a black woman that is clean, that cleanliness. You said a black woman that is courteous, and then you said a black woman that loves, and that means not to have
that's
that
non-possessive.
non-possessive love. That's
Non-possessive
what you
love.
said.
Now let me explain
Now
why.
you know that's the what I struggle with. Now I'm with all the 6,
Well,
but
let me
Jesus.
explain to you. Let me
Okay.
explain something to you. There's been no woman on the earth who ever had a man to herself all the time.
Yeah.
We've not had a prophet. We've not had an ancestor.
Mm-hmm.
There's no man.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't like that. I'm like any other woman because
Mm-hmm.
we've been taught a different idea. I wouldn't want that.
Monogamy.
Yeah, well,
1-on-1.
well, we haven't been able to do that either. We haven't been successful.
That's true.
So anyway, uh, if we check in our family trees, there ain't been no woman. That's our mothers, our grandmothers, our great grandmothers, our great great whoever, who hasn't been through that kind of ordeal with her man.
Yeah.
Okay, it's more women than men. We're more desperate than men. We're more bold than men. And so we're gonna be offering ourselves to different men. It don't matter whether he married or wearing a priesthood. If he's a man, we're gonna be trying to get with him if we're attracted to him. Okay. And so based on that reality, all of us have been through the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no need to be embarrassed. There's no need to be ashamed.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to try to get through it if you can.
Yeah.
And if you can get up enough security in the love that your man have for you to be able to handle that. Now, let me tell you something. We are not jealous because he might have dinner with her.
Mm-hmm.
We're not jealous because they go to the movie or on vacation.
Mm-hmm.
We're jealous because he's going to have sex with her too. And all of us want to think that our sex is so special that there's no way possible he could ever
want
want
somebody else.
And it has nothing to do with us. We're talking about the nature of the man, not of the woman.
Mm-hmm.
It has nothing to do with her. When he say, but baby, it didn't have nothing to do with you, he mean that. That's really the truth.
Yeah.
Okay? It's not that we have to be less than anything. And that's the other thing that we think. It means that I'm short in something. I'm less. If I did this, I did that. It wouldn't matter what you did. You know, if you run around the block 3 times, stand on your head and walk across the ceiling, it has nothing to do with whether his decision or his nature is. And I'm not talking about fornication and adultery. I'm not talking about no Negro going out every weekend to the club to go
Right.
sleep with some woman. I'm not talking about that. I mean
Right.
men who seriously. And there are men out here like this all across the country
Yeah.
who have loved 2 women 20, 30, 40 years. And the women still can't speak on the street. They both got children. Y'all know how that is.
Yeah, you know they had the side family go over there on the weekend. Mom and them told me all about that back in the
Yeah,
day.
all
Yeah,
that.
they did.
So I'm saying we need to stop acting like that don't exist.
Mm-hmm.
The actual fact is, and I'm not advocating any of this, polygamy was created for women to make sure that every woman had a father for her children, every woman had food and protection.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So if you have to share him with that time, and the actual fact is, though none of us want to be bothered with no man 24/7 because we busy, we got things to do. But we just want to make sure he ain't with nobody else doing that.
That's right. That's right. You
But
already said that a
I
lot.
mean, I would have never got nothing done if that had been my principle. You know, and I had a lot to do that I was trying to do in my own creativity and stuff. But when we find out if that happens, you don't not gonna die. You don't have to burn his clothes. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
To bleach in his car seats. I mean, it's a lot of things, you know, that women do because we get angry about that. That's the deal breaker.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that we're taking it too far out of context. I know it is designed for propagation of our race, but however, I've been talking with the young girls and they talking about getting slapped and choked, and beat and everything, and they calling that sex.
Well, you know, it's a generation into a little something different.
Yeah, it is. As I said, remember now where a lot of them have come from.
That's true.
What came through the seed. Okay.
Yeah.
It's genetic, a lot of it at this point. It's gonna take a long time to weed a lot of that out.
Yeah.
But we have to do what we have to do. Part of that is to smile. Part of that is to shut our mouth. Let somebody, let him talk. It may not make sense to us, but we ain't no man. I know the foolishness we talk don't make no sense to them.
Bunch of babble.
You know, and so we could, if we could stop fussing, stop teaching him to fuss back. Okay, and I tell brothers all the time, you don't have to react to that.
Yeah.
You're not no woman. You ain't got to fuss because can't nobody out fuss us. Anyway, he's not gonna win. But those are just, I'm just sharing with you some things that over the years that I have learned about what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
If you get a man and if he never see who you really are, if all he see is somebody's hair and makeup and eyebrows, he can run into you on the street and not even recognize you.
You come in the house, he think he getting a burglar. Who is this? It's me, baby. No, it ain't. This is not the woman I fell in love with.
So what happens is that if we want a better man and a better daughter, then we have to make it. We have to build it, not just birth it. We have to spend that time.
Yeah.
The further away a woman works from home, the more the family suffers. And everybody has to work. We need to curb our lifestyles on thinking we have to have the most expensive everything, every shoe, every outfit. We only doing that because we ain't got nothing else to do. A busy woman don't have time for fingernails 3 inches long. Not if she's trying to get something done.
Not if she's cleaning.
And build a new nation. And we need a new nation. There's not much repair for this.
Well, that was going to be my final question that I had for you. Building a new nation. What does that look like? Because a lot of people say, well, building a new nation means I'm going to go overseas and build it with another woman, meaning of a different culture.
Yeah. Well, we have been quit before. We've been quit before and we have quit them before.
Yeah.
But nature wins out. We come back together ultimately again. It was all designed like that too.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to get past things that happen and not throw it up a month later and start a whole new argument with it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean we're taking nothing off of somebody. It just means that this is the life in America. We live in a hostile environment. And every time our man leaves the door, our brother, our father, whomever, we don't know if we'll ever see him again. Because
Mm-hmm.
there's an enemy out there, an open enemy, who wants to kill them, snuff out his seed, and destroy his woman.
Yeah.
I advise every black couple that's trying to get together to sit down and discuss and find out if that person, that man or woman that you're trying to deal with is intellectually compatible with your understanding of blackness.
Mm.
See?
I never heard that one.
Yeah, well, I'm giving it to y'all tonight.
I appreciate
That
you.
you want to find out if that person is willing to understand that a lot of our behaviors are remnants from our ancestral slave history. And I have that one book, Are You Still a Slave? Which
Yes,
is
you
a
do.
test book, a couple of tests in there to help you take a test to determine how much of a slave are you still acting like even without a slave master.
Yeah.
Because a lot of those things are designed, a lot of those ideas and habits and comments are designed to break us up. So we
Yeah.
need to talk about, listen, now this whole society gonna be against us. We're gonna try to make it work. Now you have to be a little vulnerable to do that. And all of us got some kind of front set up that we think we have to pretend we got so that
Mm-hmm.
somebody else that we don't even know usually will think we cool. The nonsense that we have been fed, the
Mm-hmm.
foolishness that we have entertained daily instead of trying to do something for ourselves, which is the first work would be to improving our home.
Yeah.
Instead of all of this self-aggrandizement of everybody got to look a certain way. As I said, what kind of money are we talking about? If I go into an auditorium and 90% of the women in there got on somebody else's hair.
It's a
Now you talking the
multi-billion-dollar
glue,
company.
you talking the lace, all them different things. Different white people and Asians own them companies. There's no money for us in that except actually doing the process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we give away our fortune. We give away our man
Mm-hmm.
by trying to be more man than we think he is. We have to get our femininity back and start acting more soft, more gentle. We have to put some clothes back on
Mm-hmm.
so that any old straight man don't think he's qualified to come up and approach us. All of that is based on how you carry yourself.
Yeah. Our image.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
we have one to repair, as I said, worldwide. We have young women. I say all the time, if you go to the rescue home to get a dog, you got to fill out all these papers. How
Mm-hmm.
you gonna feed the dog? Where you gonna get the food from? Where's the dog gonna sleep? When you gonna take the dog to get his shots? How you gonna discipline the dog? You have to do all of that before they hand you a dog and trust you with an animal. And we have mothers, young women and older women that go to the hospital and have a baby, and they just hand you the baby and you go home.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to start back having parenting classes. These churches have really disappointed me. I
Yeah.
don't have any confidence in what they're in there talking about
You're
because
right.
it's good to have a pantry, but it's better to have some mother in there, an older sister that can teach these young girls about how to have self-control in raising their child.
Yeah.
Hmm. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
even know if it's enough time left in this society to go back and teach that. But
I
I
don't.
also know that a lot of nonsense we practice is because we're full
Mm-hmm.
of food. When that food gets short, people gonna come to a little bit more of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'd be surprised the arguments that are no longer important. Okay, once we have to deal with some other issues.
That's
So
right.
I have enjoyed this interview.
Let me tell you. Now you know. I ain't done with you. You think I am? Sister Rosa, I adore you. I can't thank you enough. Like I told you before, like you absolutely changed my point of view. You've made me look
a
at
form of
myself
love.
a different way, and I could not agree.
Uh,
When I
not,
saw you on the
not, now,
Donahue and Sally Jesse, and I'm just like, ain't not one story told, not a one. She over there speaking to me. I'm over here acting like a whole heathen. So it was time for me to get my little self together. But then when I did, and you know,
yeah,
put your clothes on. You ain't got to be doing all that. Have some
no,
self, respect yourself.
that's right.
Lower your tone. Learn how to shut up. Respect men for being a man, just in general. When I started doing that, when I tell you the climate in my life has changed.
Yes,
Now I be trying to tell these young ladies,
it
get it
takes a
together.
lot of energy. It takes a lot of energy to be other than yourself, to be
Yeah.
hostile, to be aggressive,
Hmm.
constantly flipping up sex. It takes a lot of energy for that. But once you start being yourself, you can relax, don't you? Don't you feel more relaxed?
When I tell you, I said it feels like you take off a jacket, a
That's
coat,
right.
and you can rest. And they call it resting in your femininity, but I said you're resting in what God made you. God made
That's
you a
right.
woman.
You become being yourself instead of mimicking other people who
Mm,
don't have our best interests at heart.
right. Oh, you preaching the word.
Listen, I think you're beautiful, and I think you will be blessed with everything that you want because that is attracting.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Instead of just being attractive, that is attracting. So
Yeah,
you will attract, what you want. It's a lot of the times, we don't know what God has planned for us.
that's right.
But if you're doing the right thing, you're in a better position to earn a good blessing than if you're doing the wrong thing.
That's right. You're
You know.
right. That's
So
right.
I think that this is a wonderful idea you have to do this show. I've given you enough to work with.
Yes, you have. I won't. Well, I ain't gonna. I'm gonna check up on you here now. I always gonna do that. But like I said, thank you
But
so
I
much.
thank you, and I thank you for inviting me. You're a lovely young woman,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I did your show. I like nice people, and I like sisters who are able to deal with the truth
Yes,
and move
ma'am.
ahead in their life
Yes.
instead of trying to live for somebody else. So
No.
you take care,
You
and
too.
I love you. And you can always email me
Well,
if
yeah, I'm
you
gonna
need to
check up
say
on you. You
something.
done. You done
I'm
got.
not answering, but you can
I
email me.
know you're not, but you got family here in Tennessee, so I'm gonna always check up on you because, like I said, you're an absolute. You're a diamond
Oh,
for
please.
us. You are. You get used to it. I'm gonna say your praises. You are a diamond. So you
Hey,
have a
I'm just
beautiful.
doing the best I can,
Well,
and I'm trying to share
you
what
done
I
did
have
it.
learned so you can do the best you can. It's
Yes,
much
ma'am.
easier, and
Yeah.
it allows you to be beautiful for a long time.
Hmm. I
Your
would take
ideas,
my
every
age, but
idea you have weighs on your face.
you're
That's
right.
true.